all, JD, and let's head back. Let's head again. We'll jump back on the pike, back on I-90, and head east into my hometown, into Boston, Massachusetts. The Celtics and Spurs went at it last night. Celtics unfortunately came up on the losing end of that, 96-88.
Didn't DeJounte Murray talk some shit too? Something like that?
He did. He was jarring. He was talking. And they had a right to. I got a bone to pick with the Celtics, man. The inconsistency has been bad this year. You never know. We as Celtic fans never know which Boston team is going to which Celtic team is going to show up, you know?
Absolutely.
We never know which Celtic team is going to show up. And I know so Ime Udoka's system is much different than Brad Stevens'. Much different. There is a lot more ball movement. There's a lot more switching on both ends of the court, offensive and defensive. There's a lot more switching involved. And we're 20 games in, and they're still struggling with it. They're still struggling with the defensive rotations. There are times where underneath the basket is just left wide open for guys, and it never mind like underneath the basket, just lanes to the hoop. That's how the Spurs beat them the other night, because the defensive rotation just collapsed in the final 6 minutes of the game, and there were lanes to the hoop, like just easy lanes to the hoop, like one move and the guy would go, whether it was Keldon Johnson or DeJounte Murray. It was just you know how like when the defense under the hoop collapses, you just drive and it's an easy layup, and you either get, even if you don't make the layup, you're still going to get the call on the contact.
Yeah, High Life said they don't have a true center, and it's bad when you spent how much money this year on a true center. How much money is Horford making? And how much money is Williams making?
Yeah, no, I know.
That's a huge deal. Like you're looking at, and Brad Stevens is going to have to evaluate that. He just paid a guy to be a rim protector, and if that's your main issue, that's definitely an issue. And we talked about it about Tatum's issues and stuff, so I don't really need to touch on that. We talked about that a couple of podcasts ago, and it's just, they have to figure out what their identity is. You know what I mean? They, like last year, their identity was ISO ball with Tatum, and this year they're trying to pass the ball a lot. They got to figure out what it is, and it's going to be interesting. It's hard to say. Yeah, the Celtics at 10-10. It's hard to say who they actually are. I almost want to wait.
See, that's exactly what I was gonna bring that. You kind of just led me right into the. We're 20 games into the season, and we still don't know the Celtics' identity.
And that's a problem. See, the Bulls' identity
we still don't know. We still don't know what they are as a team.
Yeah, and you definitely got to know. You definitely got to know after 20 games. You got to know exactly like who gets the ball at what moments. And it feels like they don't know still who their main star is. And you know what? Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe Tatum isn't that guy. Maybe it really is Brown, like you said. Maybe you were right about that a couple months ago when you said that. You said that Brown is clearly the better player to you. So I don't know.
I just find that a massive problem that we're 20 games. What's that? A third of the way into the season?
About a fourth, but yeah, it's
quite a quarter of the way into the season, and we still don't know what the team is. What the team has, like, there's no identity to it at all. It's just it's not good. It's not good. They like I said, it's not good. Like they need to. The inconsistency is going to be a serious problem, and if they're going to get stuck in a play-in, like if if they hit another stretch like they did last season, where in the middle of the season they just kind of, throw their hands up and kind of raise the white flag, they're not even going to get into the play-in. Never mind the playoffs. It's not good, man. And allow me to go on a little Celtic rant here for like 2 minutes,
Please.
right? You want to know what the biggest problem with the Celtics is? The biggest problem with the Celtics is the Celtics. It's upper management. They overvalue a lot of these guys, a lot of them, right? The Celtics bench is next to nothing. I'm sorry. Like, there's no help there. There's no two guys on the Celtic bench that stand out and are 1,000% reliable. The Celtics are their own worst enemy sometimes because they had all these picks years ago. They had compiled all these picks and all this stuff, and they could have packaged players and picks to get legitimate superstars here, and they refused to do it.
I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it because it's a fact. And I said it like 3 years ago. I said it like 2 or 3 years ago. This was like one of the first videos I ever made on YouTube talking about sports ever. Kyrie Irving will and did ruin the Celtics culture and chemistry. He came in there. He ruined it. He inflated Jason Tatum's head. He messed with the guard position. Now Brad Stevens doesn't even know how to, or not even Brad Stevens, but the Celtics don't even know how to use the guards anymore. So I really think that just trading for Kyrie Irving brought in a cancer that you're still dealing with. And I'm not saying Kyrie Irving himself is the reason why they're having issues, but just
you're talking the after effects of when effects that he left behind.
Well, Tatum was this guy who was running through a system, and he was so reliant on the system, and he was so good in the system, and he was such a team guy. And now all of a sudden, the last few years, he's been very selfish, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you bring in these LeBron mentality, these Kyrie mentality guys, and you just kind of ruin the locker room. You do. You ruin the locker room. That's what it is. So it's an issue. It definitely is. Your mindset.
And even some of the Celtic fans are starting to say, like High Life is, he pointed it out. He even said, he goes, at the time being, Tatum is like Kyrie Irving to them. And I hate to say it too, because listen, Tatum can score. He can. I have said this from the start with him. How many times have I said this, JD? It's not Tatum's skill set. It's all in the guy's head. It's Tatum's mentality that's his own. His mentality is his own worst enemy. He's his own worst enemy. It's becoming more and more clear to me, at least, that Tatum just does not have that mentality to put a team on his back and lead. I don't think he has it in him.
People gotta like you. They gotta rely on you, and not necessarily like you, but they gotta respect you. You know what I mean? And I don't think Tatum is. He's just he came in the league. What was he? 19. He blocks LeBron James. He has a bunch of big moments. He's a game away from. He's 5 points away from the finals. So he has all these big moments. And then you got a guy like Kyrie Irving who came in there and kind of poisoned him. And then he's just like you said, your mentality, your skill set's all there, but your mentality's not there. High Life calls him a diva in the chat. It's hard to argue. I think
it's getting to that point. It is getting to that. It's getting to that point. And a lot of Celtic fans, if it continues, are probably going to be saying what some of them are saying now, like, we should try and trade him when his value is the highest. And
I think the point that I made, that is a good point. Trade him when the value is the highest.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Like right now, his value is about as high as it's going to be. And the thing that I said too is the Celtics have always been defined by their team play. You know what I mean? Their team. Even when Larry Bird was the guy, he didn't care if Kevin McHale had a 50-point game. It seems like Tatum doesn't even like when Brown has a good game, or he doesn't thrive when Brown has a good game. It's like you got to be like Lonzo Ball, where you're willing to take only 8 shots in a game sometimes. Like when a guy's hot or a matchup there, you got to be willing to take less shots. But I don't think Tatum is. I think Tatum wants to get his stats, and I think he wants to make sure he's
more concerned about his brand and his stat line than he is about winning. Seriously, that's
a big problem.
I hate to say it because that's not how the Celtics usually are. You know, Tatum is more concerned with his brand and his stat line and making. He's more here's the thing. Tatum's more concerned with making the All-Star game than winning an NBA title.
And that's a big deal. That's a big problem too. It's yeah, he thinks he's Kobe. But Kobe, before Kobe became Kobe, Kobe had a few rings. That's all I would say. Is Kobe had a few rings before Kobe became Kobe. So Tatum needs to turn that
and he's so far off of that though. It's not even funny. Like Kobe had that ice in his veins mentality. You know what I mean? And it's just Tatum just ain't there. He's just not there. And here's the thing too. It's how long are you willing to wait for that? As you know what I mean? How, like, you can't wait forever for it because then his value is going to fall off a cliff and you're going to be able to get nothing if you try and trade him.
Yeah, you have to decide whether he's a superstar or whether he's just a guy who's a good player, but he's not going to bring you to the promised land. He kind of, that's the thing. John Larson said something that's interesting. He said Tatum has to have a better player with him. He needs motivation. Well, I would argue this. Al Horford is a pretty good player, and
Jaylen Brown's a pretty good player, and Tatum hates Brown,
and they don't even play good together. So the way I would see it is you got to buy in if you're Jason Tatum. Everyone's got to buy into the system, and they got to make it work and let the chips fall.
I'm gonna say it right now. I got a feeling the locker room doesn't like JT either.
Well, he even said he didn't care if he was traded. He said that before. It was,
you know what I mean? I'm going to say it. I'm going to throw it out there right now. From what I'm seeing on the court and just the body language, I don't think guys like JT. I don't think they like him. I'm just going to throw it out there.
And that's on him. That's definitely on him because you have to be the leader of your team. You don't have to be liked, but you have to be respected. And if they're not playing well, something tells me he's not respected. So.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Trade you Vogel for JT. Yeah, see, this is a typical Laker fan right here, Benjamin. He goes, "I'll trade you my coach for your superstar." That's the kind of stuff. I'll trade you a second-round pick for Steph Curry. How about that? And it'll be all right.
Yeah, I took a dump today and it was purple and gold.
Oh man. Didn't Smart call him a ball hog? Dude, Smart was trashing both of them. Smart was trashing Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum I think it was like 2 weeks ago. He was saying that, like, he wasn't trashing them. He was saying that, like, as a team, we need to be less selfish. We need to stop taking shots that are stupid.
Yeah. So here's just to end it, to like wind it down, and then we'll go back to football and preview in the next games coming up. The biggest pet peeve that I have with JT right now is that as soon as the Celtics get down, he feels like he's got to ignore the rest of his team and just play hero ball. And I hate that. I can't stand that in a player. Use your team. Use the guys around you.
The Celtics have won as many titles as any, as many championships as any franchise in the history of basketball, and they've never done that. They haven't done that. They've never had an ISO ball player. Never. Like, not in the history of the Celtics. With the Paul Pierce era, they were not ISO ball. The Isaiah Thomas era, they were not ISO ball.
It's never been ISO ball, and Tatum wants to do that because he's only concerned about his own stats.
That's not who the Celtics are. That's not literally who they've ever been, ever. So I don't like it either, actually. I think you're going against the identity of your entire city, let alone your team. And that's definitely a problem. You might want to look at moving on from a guy like that.